Japan has a security agreement with the US. However, Japan also wants to maintain stable relations with China, and it will also work with countries in the region to foster security of the Asia Pacific. And within that framework, we think Japan has a contribution to make to the security of the region. Japan has a security agreement with the US. It's fundamental to their security. Both sides take it very seriously. And so, quite understandably, Japan cooperates very closely with the US on security matters. However, Japan also wants to maintain stable relations with China, and it will also work with countries in the region to foster security of the Asia Pacific. And within that framework, we think Japan has a contribution to make to the security of the region. The situation after the war for many decades was unusual because of the history of the war, but now, nearly 80 years after the end of the war, well, the situation has evolved, and Japan has also changed, and Japan has a contribution to make. What can it do? Well, it can participate in the regional cooperation. For example, in the ASEAN Regional Forum, for example, in the ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting plus discussions, which means ASEAN convening and bringing defense ministers from all over the region together. And there's no reason why in these forums Japan should not take an active role and contribute its views, because regional security is something which affects all of us. Of course, there will be bilateral cooperation too, Japan with countries in the region, and between Singapore and Japan, we have a certain amount of security cooperation. Japan has an interest in the security of the region, in the stability of the region, in freedom of navigation. And these are all issues which need to be discussed and where countries can work together. Well, politically, I think the relationship is good. I have had many exchanges with Prime Minister Kishida, as you pointed out. And last year he came and delivered the Shangri-La dialogue speech, which we were very honored. In terms of economic exchanges, we are also prospering. Our trade is growing. Our investments in each other are growing. In fact, we've become Japan's biggest Asian investor, and Japan is Singapore's biggest Asian investor. There's also policy cooperation. We're talking about digital exchanges, the digital and the green economies. And these are areas of interest to us, of interest to the Japanese, and we are working together. The Japanese talk about digital free flow with trust, how to enable cross-border digital exchanges so that you can have efficiencies, you can have integration, you can have data centers serve whole regions rather than country by country. And we have been promoting that too with different countries, and so there's a convergence of views. We're also talking about our the green side, sustainable energy, hydrogen, green shipping. We have the digital and green shipping corridor. We signed an MOU with them to have established standards and flow through from port to port in the region. So I think it's a good range of things, and it's a good basis on which to take the relationship forward. I think it's a good move, good sign, good development that COPS has made this statement about moving away from fossil fuel for energy systems. You have to read exactly what that means, and it will be argued how to interpret and implement them. But basically, it means we have to use fossil fuels less It will be quite hard to do because it's not just using less. You've got to replace it with something, either with renewables, or you have to find some other solution, or you have to use less, or you have to do carbon capture and storage and put away what is generated. But that we have to become less reliant on fossil fuel and develop more renewables and more new sources of energy. I think that's the right direction for the world to take. The Japanese have developed this forum, this frame. They call it AZEC, Asia Zero Emissions Community, and it includes all of the ASEAN countries except Myanmar, and adding in also Australia. And Singapore is happy to participate in it. If we look at the items under AZEC, it's basically these things again, talking about green hydrogen, talking about infrastructure for sustainable energy, talking about financing of sustainable energy. And these are all things which Singapore will need to look to if we are going to reach net zero in 2050. It's going to be a very big challenge. It's not at all a straightforward matter, and it is still work in progress. But we've set a goal, and we'll do our best to work towards it.